Hi students, in the previous video we have seen chemical bonding and types of bonding, electrovalent bond and covalent bond and all. Now in this video we are going to discuss the properties of compounds on the basis of the bonding, that is properties of electrovalent compounds and the properties of covalent compounds. Keep watching. The properties of compounds depend on the kind of bonds present in them. Now, electrovalent compounds have one kind of properties and covalent compounds have another kind of properties. Now, first let us discuss the ionic compounds or electrovalent compounds. Electrovalent compounds, the first property is they are hard solids, their physical state. They are hard solids with crystal lattice structures at ordinary temperatures. So, you can see the diagram here, a crystal of sodium chloride is shown here. So, the strong electrostatic forces, there is presence of strong electrostatic force of attraction between anions and cations. Here in this diagram you can find the sodium ion and chloride ion alternately placed. So each sodium ion surrounded by 6 chloride ions and each chloride ion surrounded by 6 sodium ions. So there is a strong electrostatic force of attraction. This is the important point here, strong electrostatic force of attraction, electrostatic force of attraction. So this is the basis for the description of all the properties of ionic compound, the strong electrostatic force of attraction between anion and cation. Anions have negative charge, cations have positive charge. So example, in sodium chloride we have Na plus ions and Cl minus ion. So strong electrostatic force of attraction between them. So they are held tightly. So because of this, the properties of ionic compounds show very hard solids nature, or in physical state at ordinary temperature is a hard solid. They are solid state at ordinary temperatures. Now the second thing is the ionic compounds have second property is they have high melting and boiling points. High melting and boiling points. Why do they have high melting and boiling points? This is again due to the strong electrostatic force of attraction. Strong electrostatic force of attraction between anions and cations. Okay, now let's see. Now, according to the kinetic theory, particles in a solid are held tightly by strong forces. Now, in the case of ionic compounds, it is strong electrostatic force. Now, when a solid is heated, heat a solid. When a solid is heated, what happens is particles gain energy. The particles gain energy. And as you go on heating, continuous heating, what happens? A point will come at which the particles will have such energy that they can overcome the attraction between them. Continuous heating, the particles continue to gain energy. Continue to gain energy. At a particular temperature, what happens at a particular temperature? They overcome the attraction between them. Attraction between them and begin to move. Okay, when they move, that is when we say the solid has changed to liquid state. The liquids can flow. How? Because the particles can slide one over the other. So the constant heating, the continuous heating will give them such energy that at one point they become free and overcome the attraction between them and they begin to move. In other words, melting takes place. This is what is melting. Now the temperature at which this process happens is called the melting point. Okay. Now in the case of ionic compounds, the force between the particle is electrostatic force, the strong electrostatic force. Therefore, large amount of energy is required. What is it? The large amount of energy required. Large amount of energy required to overcome the electrostatic force of attraction between anions and cations. So, if a question is asked, why do ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points? The answer is because large amount of energy is required to overcome the strong electrostatic force of attraction between anions and cations. I think you understood that. Now moving to the next point. The next property of ionic compounds is they are soluble in polar solvents and are insoluble generally in non-polar solvents. Now what are polar solvents? Polar solvents are solvents whose molecules have polarity. Polar solvents. Example, water. The molecules we have already seen in under covalent compounds. So water molecules H and the molecule oxygen has got lone pairs. At the same time, it has got partial negative charge. Hydrogen has got partial positive charge due to difference in electronegativity. So there is a polarity, positive and negative ends in the molecule. So this is called a polar molecule. So water is a polar solvent. Now there are other solvents in the non-polar covalent compounds such as carbon tetrachloride. Carbon tetrachloride or carbon disulfide. So CCl4 and CS2. So these molecules have no polarity in them. So they cannot behave like water. Now what happens when an ionic compound is put in? Now as we have seen Na plus and Cl minus Na plus, the ionic compound is full of ions. It is full of anions and cations alternately placed, and Na plus, again Na plus and Cl minus and Na plus and Cl minus. This is like this. Now when it is put in water, example, you take water, a polar molecule, or it is a polar solvent HOH. Now there is a partial positive charge on hydrogen, partial negative on oxygen, and the partial positive on this hydrogen. Now there is interaction between the opposite anions and cations with the molecule of water because of polarity. So what happens is the chloride ion becomes free from here because of the extra attraction. It already has attraction between them. It is held strongly, but due to the attraction from this hydrogen, what happens? The chloride ion begins to move out. Same way the sodium begins to move out. In other words, the crystal shatters. It begins to break free and the ions become free. So the ions become free. Previously they were held strongly by strong electrostatic force of attraction. They become free. In other words, the crystal now begins to dissolve. That is what is happening. No such interaction is possible when you put in a non-polar solvent such as carbon tetrachloride and carbon disulfide. So this is why ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents and they are usually insoluble in non-polar solvents. I think you understood. We go into the next point. The next property of ionic compounds or electrovalent compounds is they conduct electricity in the molten state or in the aqueous state. Now for conduction of, the first thing to understand is we have discussed in the previous video about the two kinds of conductions. That is, one is the ionic conduction. Here we are talking about ionic conduction. So conduction of electricity in a chemical compound, it is different from conduction through a copper wire. So in a chemical compound requires, what is the most important requirement? It requires free mobile ions. Ions capable of movement is required. This is the first thing to note. Now we have already seen that in solid state. Solid state, what happens? The ions are held tightly. So no free mobile ions. No free mobile ions in solid state because they are held tightly and cannot move, and therefore no conduction in solid state. Okay. Now what happens in the molten state? We have seen when a solid is heated, it gains energy and the particles become free at one point. So there is presence of mobile ions. When the solid melts, that is what is called molten state, presence of free mobile ions is there. Therefore conduction takes place. In other words, it conducts. Now what happens in the aqueous state? Aqueous state, we have seen when a ionic compound dissolves in water, a polar solvent, what happens? Ions are becoming free. that means again presence of free mobile ions. Ions are already there, but they become free in the aqueous stage and therefore conducts. So this is the reason why ionic compounds conduct electricity in the molten state and in the aqueous state, but no conduction in the solid state. There is no conduction. In solid state, the ions are present, but they are not mobile. They are not free to move. They are held tightly by strong electrostatic force. So this is about ionic compounds. Now let us look into covalent compounds. The properties of covalent compounds. Covalent compounds are usually soft solids or liquids or gases. They are found in all three states. See, ionic compounds are always solids, whereas covalent compounds can be solids, which are soft solids, or liquids, or gases at ordinary temperature. Now, the reason is there is absence of strong forces. No electrostatic force, because there is no positive and negative charge, no electrostatic, and even the other weak forces that hold them. The forces are very weak. Now, so they are soft solids or liquids or gases. Now, example for the solids, the soft solids, example you can have P2O5, phosphorus pentoxide, okay, and for liquids you can have phosphorus trichloride, PCl3, phosphorus trichloride, CCl4, carbon tetrachloride, and water, H2O, yes, CS2, carbon disulfide. So these are all liquids, examples of. Now gases. For gases we have CO2, carbon dioxide, yes, covalent compounds. Now if you take Cl2, chlorine, it is not a compound, but the bond is covalent. Chlorine, it is chlorine. Chlorine gas is an element, it is not a compound, but still there is a covalent bond there, right? So you can also have sulfur dioxide and other gases for that. Hydrogen chloride, HCl, hydrogen chloride is a gas. Okay. NH3, ammonia. These are all examples of gases. So you find that covalent compounds are in all three states. Okay, and the second property of covalent compounds we discuss, they have low melting and boiling points. Boiling point and melting points are low. Why? The reason is again due to absence of strong forces. Due to absence of strong forces between the molecules or particles. There is no strong force like what ionic compounds have. So they easily melt. Small amount of energy is required to separate them from solid state, and even when the liquid separating into gas also requires small amount of energy, low boiling point. Now the next is they are usually soluble in non-polar solvents and are insoluble in polar solvents, because covalent compounds are they do not have polarity. That is why the polar solvent having polarity, example water with partial negative and partial positive charge, negative and this is positive. So this charge has no effect there because the molecules have no charge in them. So there is no need of any interaction. So it depends on only the intermolecular space. So they do not dissolve in usually polar solvents, and non-polar solvents they dissolve. Then there are some exceptions to this rule. Example, we have ammonia, NH3 ammonia, and we also have HCl, hydrogen chloride. These two they dissolve. Ammonia dissolves in water. And splits into ions. Example, it forms NH4 plus ions and OH minus ions when it dissolves in water. Now what is happening here is the interaction, as polarity of water is there, HO and H, then there is partial negative charge, partial positive charge, here again partial positive charge. When ammonia is dissolved, ammonia is dissolving in water, or you pass ammonia as a gas, pass through water, what happens is the nitrogen and hydrogen, we know ammonia has NH3, no? So partial positive charge here, ammonia is a polar molecule, we have already studied that, and the partial positive charge and partial negative charge, the polarity, there is interaction here. Interaction possible between hydrogen and nitrogen, and this hydrogen and oxygen, so therefore it dissolves. So this is what is happening. Same thing with the HCl, hydrogen chloride dissolves in water, it also splits, H2O interaction happens and it splits into H plus and Cl minus ions. So ions are produced. Hydrogen chloride also dissolves. So even though generally this covalent compounds are insoluble in water, there are exceptions like ammonia and hydrogen chloride dissolving in water, giving their ions. Ions are formed. Again, interaction is happening same way like HCl. Water has this polarity and that interaction happens, so it dissolves, right? Now, the next property of covalent compounds is they do not conduct electricity in any state. This is the general rule. Why? Because they cannot split into free mobile ions. They cannot split into ions. Ions are not produced at all. They remain as molecules. And we have seen that free mobile ions are required for conduction. Since they don't produce mobile ions, there is no conduction. They don't conduct electricity in any state. Now there is again exception. Like we have seen ammonia, NH3 and HCl, because when they dissolved in water, they dissolve as well as they split into ions, NH4 plus and OH minus ions are produced. Same way HCl dissolves in water and it splits into H3O plus, hydronium ion and chloride ion is produced. So the free mobile ions are produced in the case of ammonia and HCl because it is polar covalent compound. So what is the exception? Polar covalent compounds. Polar covalent compounds such as ammonia and hydrogen chloride dissolve in polar solvent water and split into ions. Therefore, HCl and NH3 ammonia conduct electricity in aqueous state. Aqueous state means dissolved in water. So this is what is the properties of covalent compounds. Now let us summarize this, what we have learned today. So the comparison of both electrovalent compounds and covalent. Electrovalent compounds are otherwise known as ionic compounds. Right. So first of all, the state. In the state, solids with crystal lattice structures at room temperature. This is ionic compound. Covalent compounds are generally soft solids or liquids or gases at room temperatures. Right. Now, second property we compare is the melting and boiling points. They have high melting and boiling points. They have low melting and boiling. Who has low? Covalent compounds have low melting and boiling points. Ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points. Now, reason here there are strong electrostatic force, and this covalent they do not have any strong force between the particles. Then the third property we saw is they dissolve. Ionic compounds dissolve in polar solvents such as water, and they do not dissolve in non-polar solvents. And about covalent compounds we have seen they dissolve in non-polar solvents but are insoluble in polar solvents, and we have seen the exception hydrogen chloride and ammonia. Then the fourth point is they conduct. Electrovalent compounds conduct electricity in the molten or aqueous state but not in the solid state. while covalent compounds do not conduct electricity in any state, exception again ammonia and hydrogen chloride. So this is the comparison of the properties of these compounds. So students, I think you understood what we have discussed today, the properties of electrovalent compounds and covalent compounds, and please go through the video once again so that you will understand it better, and subscribe to the channel and like, and you may write your questions as comments. Thank you.